by the Honorable Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would want to ask this question on behalf of Senator Karen Nyamu. The questions are as follows. Question number 079. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the medium-term strategy to reduce the fiscal deficit from 4.9% to a sustainable level? Number 2, what measures is the ministry undertaking to support counties, noting that 2025 budget policy statement project GDP growth at 5.3% and stable inflation, yet county governments face a contracting fiscal space and rising costs? 3, what interventions is the ministry implementing to address the pending bills crisis in the county governments, particularly in Nairobi County, where pending bills have accumulated to approximately Kenya shillings 121 billion, and what mechanism are being enforced to ensure timely settlement for supplier debts and prevent further accumulation? 4, how does the National Treasury plan to manage increased domestic borrowing by the government without crowding out private sector credit and stifling economic growth in light of constrained external financing and the lapse of the International Monetary Fund, Extended Fund Facility, and Extended Credit Facility, and program signed in April 2021? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Now, Honourable CS, we have 15 minutes within which to respond and also to allow supplementary questions from Honourable Senators. So kindly paraphrase. We already have your substantive response. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in responding to this question, although this is an area that I become sometimes very passionate, but I will not go overboard. So to effectively manage the prevailing fiscal deficit in Kenya, the government, through the National Treasury, is adopting and has adopted a multi-pronged approach with notable focus on both revenue generation and expenditure control. So you can call it revenue generation and expenditure or fiscal consolidation. So there are several steps or approaches to this. Number 1, strengthening financial controls. Number 2, diversifying borrowing sources. Number 3, improving debt repayment planning. And number 4, promoting efficient resource allocation. Those are the steps that we are taking to ensure that we manage, or rather, we reduce the fiscal deficit to manage the debt sustainability. So, for example, in this financial year that we are going to 25-26, we plan to have a budget deficit of about 4.5%, not 4.3 as indicated in the document. We have revised it to 4.5% compared to 4.9, which of this current financial year. Actually, it's going to be about 5.1% this financial year. So we are reducing the budget deficit. The best way to address or enhance or ensure debt sustainability is to persistently and consistently reduce budget deficit year by year. I want to report, Mr. Speaker, that in 2020-2021, the budget deficit was 8.3. 21-22, that came down to 6.2% of GDP. 22-23, it came down to 5.6. 23-24, you see we are coming down. We came down to 5.3, and now we are at 5.1. then we want to move to 4.5 continuously, and in the medium term, we'll be at 2.7. So that is what the reduction of budget deficit will help us on debt sustainability. But then, that can only be realized through fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation here simply means, one, you enhance revenue collection. And that is why we are working on Kenya Revenue Authority, automating their processes and procedures to make sure that we enhance efficiency and effectiveness of that institution. But also, we are working on the other side of managing expenditure. And managing expenditure and managing prudence in use of public funds. Mr. Speaker, I want to report here that one step that we have taken to ensure that our revenues are realistic, because that is one area that has resulted over the years in over-budgeting, which has given us high fiscal deficit. We revised 2025-26 revenue estimates down from 3,018 billion to 2,757 billion. For the first time, Mr. Speaker, I'll report to you that the National Treasury's estimate of ordinary revenue is below the estimate by Parliamentary Budget Office. For the first time. It has always been that the Treasury estimates are higher. So we are doing that to make sure that we are realistic. So on the revenue side, let me brush over or move to expenditure. Some of the things that we are doing to ensure that we cut on expenditure. And again, I want to report here that we reduced our expenditure based on the BPS that was approved by 120 billion, just to live within our means. So we are taking steps to actualize fiscal sustainability. The government will sustain efforts to strengthen accountability, transparency, and a revenue mobilization path by the medium-term revenue strategy. We are also strengthening expenditure control and improving efficiency and effectiveness in public spending. That is why on 7th of April, I officiated the launch of e-procurement system to maximize value for money and increase transparency in procurement. From 1st of July, all government procurements will be done through e-procurement platform, and no one else will be given excuse. Over 3,000 MDAs will all be onboarded, and the onboarding is going on, and we are even training the suppliers, the contractors, on the use of this system. We have also implemented zero-based budgeting approach for this financial year for the first time. We have also operationalizing the assets and inventory management modules in our IFMIS for all MDAs. In order not to crowd out the private sector in the provision of public services, the government is scaling up the use of public-private partnership framework for commercially viable projects. A number of projects are lined up for PPP. Rironi Mau Summit is one case. We are also thinking and working and moving forward with SGR that will largely be on PPP. The Galana Kulalu project is there, one of the PPP projects. A number of projects under the energy sector, especially the energy transmission, are also being implemented under the PPP system. The government is also piloting a new human resource management system, which will be rolled out to all national government ministries and departments, as well as all county governments, in order to improve the management of the wage bill, including statutory payroll deductions. In view of the constrained fiscal environment, prioritization during resource allocation will be critical in ensuring low priority expenditure are dropped or deferred to give way to high priority service delivery programs. So ministries, MDAs are therefore required to reevaluate all the existing or planned activities, projects and programs to be funded in the financial year of 25-26, and that we did. Now strategies, Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on in terms of talking about managing our debt, because it is a very wide topic, but I think those are some of the salient features of what we are implementing. On strategies to manage county government funding constraints, first, there is a reason for funding constraints. One is the low ordinary revenue collections over the years. And Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that over the period 2016-2017 to 2024-25, actual ordinary revenue has always been below target, except for 2021-22. And hence, such shortfalls in actual ordinary revenue collections have led to constraints in county government's funding. This is real, Mr. Speaker, because we budget, but the resources become a challenge when we don't meet the revenue targets. The need to finance mandatory expenditures under Article 203 of the Constitution. The government has an inevitable need to finance mandatory expenditures under Article 203 of the Constitution. Such expenditures relate to national interest programs such as the security modernization, strategic interventions. This leads to fiscal deficit in financing other major national government functions, which has always occasioned additional borrowing, which continues to distort our fiscal framework. And again, I want to say that the national government continues to solely bear shortfalls in revenue in any given financial year, as has always been demonstrated. There is also the high cost of public debt that is contributing largely. This is largely due to a relatively stable but still high exchange rate to the dollar, as well as high interest rates in the domestic markets. Public debt services in 25-26 will account for about 52% of ordinary revenue, which is higher than the average of 41% over the period from 2017 to 2024-25. So we are going up in terms of percentage of our ordinary revenue that goes towards settling the public debt or servicing public debt. What strategies is the ministry taking to manage county government's funding constraints? The national government, through National Treasury, is managing funding constraints to county governments using a variety of strategies. By utilizing these strategies in a comprehensive and coordinated manner, the National Treasury has therefore been able to effectively manage funding for county governments and support their efforts to deliver essential services and promote development, despite the prevailing fiscal constraints due to expenditure pressures and public debt commitments, as shown above. The strategies enumerated below aim to ensure that county governments have the financial resources they need to fulfill their responsibilities and deliver services to Kenyan citizens. One is the conditional and unconditional allocations to counties. We have continued to give additional allocations to counties which are earmarked for specific programs or projects as defined by the central government. They provide targeted funding for special policy goals or initiatives, and these additional allocations can ensure that certain areas are prioritized and that funding is allocated in a way that aligns with the national priorities. However, the county government's additional allocations bill has always been passed by Parliament late towards the close of financial year, thereby denying counties additional funding for programs under national priorities such as county aggregated and industrial parks program and community health promoters. We currently have a problem even absorbing this year's budget, county additional allocations, Mr. Speaker, because of how long it took between the two houses to agree. So promoting local revenue generation in the form of own source revenue, again here the National Treasury has been empowering county governments to generate their own revenue through taxation and other means. This is meant to increase the autonomy and fiscal sustainability of county government to alleviate the risks associated with over-reliance on equitable share to find essential services. The National Treasury has finalized the development and piloting of own-source revenue forecasting tools for counties to help them expanding their revenue bases, thus allowing them to implement realistic charges, levies, and fees geared towards raising more revenues. It is expected that this own-source revenue system generation will strengthen county government's autonomy and promote fiscal sustainability. Number 3 is promoting transparency and accountable financial management. The National Treasury is committed to ensuring that funding in counties is used effectively and efficiently so that county governments are accountable for the use of public funds. The National Treasury therefore urges counties to adhere to the clear guidelines for the allocation and use of funds through promoting transparency by making financial information readily available to the public as in the norm at the National Treasury. And I hope this House will help in realizing this. Implementing strong monitoring and evaluation systems, that is also something else. And finally, building partnerships with county governments. The National Treasury and Economic Planning has continued to foster collaboration between the national government and county governments to improve service delivery and promote development. The Office of the Cabinet Secretary continues to engage in regular dialogue with the Council of Governors through regular meetings and forums to discuss policy issues and share best practice. Some of these forums are even informal, Mr. Speaker. And we have a very good working relationship with the Council of Governors led by the chair, who is also my professional colleague. Further, the National Treasury continues to supporting collaborative project financing through joint projects between the national governments, ministries, departments and agencies and county government, such as KIPES and CHPs, among others. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you once again for this opportunity to engage with you together with the honorable members. Thank you very much.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Very quick questions. I wanted to know from the CS what interventions is the ministry implementing in regards to pending bills, where you will find one pending bill that has been passed by the county assembly, and then the governor has his own list. And this comes to COB, and the governor's list will be paid. The one that has been passed by the county assembly is yet to be paid. Number two is on the issue of diversion of funds. When a contractor or a supplier is supposed to be paid by the county government, and the money is requisitioned from COB, and at the end of the day, that money goes to another contractor, different contractor, not the contractor or supplier who was requisitioned for. So how is the ministry going to deal with this matter? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the two questions are linked together. They're very related, where you find that the requisition is made through the normal system, through the controller of budget, and yet the payment is given or paid to someone else or another contractor or to pay another bill. This is a problem that is very pronounced in counties from what I gather. And as we are we are working on a tool, a system that will be used by both the national government and the county governments to ensure that the bill, what has been approved, is actually what is paid for, and also to ensure that bills are prioritized in terms of first in, first out. Because again, there's a lot of favoritism and discretion by government. So that, by decision makers at the counties and at the national government level. But even as we do that, I think the controller of budget has capacity and tool. What we need the controller of budget to exercise or do is to make sure that their approval is respected, so that they rein on the county governments. The Auditor General can also be taking the approvals from the controller of budget and use it to audit the actual expenditure. And then I also want to ask this Honorable House, the Senate, that this is also an area where you can help. I know you have helped before, but I think you can help more by ensuring that it's not even micromanaging, by ensuring that what has been approved is what is actually paid. Because these cases are too much. They are reported, we live in this country, we hear about them, and nothing seems to be happening to stop this, which I call actually illegal diversion of funds. Because if controller of budget has approved money to be spent on a particular manner, that is how it should be spent. It should not be spent in a different manner at all. So we, as National Treasury, are working on a system that would ensure that payments are made in line with the approval. As that is being done, I think we can still use the current system and supervision to help deal with some of these challenges.
Senator Sotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me start by congratulating the CS for the good work he's doing at the ministry, at the Treasury. Indeed, you are the expert that we have been talking about. I have two quick questions, Mr. Speaker. One is that the CS has talked about constraints in disbursing monies to the counties. And I would like to make reference to the disbursement schedule we passed last week to disburse money under additional allocation to the county. Maybe you can elaborate to this House what constraints you are facing. Because I spoke to my governor yesterday, and he told me that though we passed some monies, that money has not hit the account. Instead, there was a communication from the National Treasury about the further delay.
Go straight to the question, Honorable Sotsi.
So what are these constraints the ministry is facing, particularly in disbursing the money under additional allocation that we passed the disbursement schedule last week? Number two.
Honorable Gosotsi.
Yes.
Understanding Order 51C 7B, you're entitled to ask only one supplementary question,
okay.
which you have.
Very well,
Honorable
Mr.
CS, proceed to respond.
The constraints generally would be on cash flow challenges, especially where the funding is from GOK, and more particularly where we fail to meet the revenue targets by KRA. And I will tell you that we have so much demand. At times there are some months which are very bad, especially the months where we are paying loans. We are repaying loans. We usually have challenges in the month of January, February, very serious challenges in the month of May, and then July. Those are the months where we repay the Chinese loan on SGR, and those are the same months like January where we pay capitation to schools, and the capitation to schools is at times almost 50 billion. And remember, every month we pay 80 billion salaries. So if you add 80 billion, you add to say 40 billion, that's already 120, and you add that to debt repayments, we sometimes come to 50, 60, you're already beyond 200. And revenue collection in a month is averaging around 200 billion. Now that then puts a problem to funding counties, puts a problem to funding other development expenditure. But I will tell you, we still work very hard to make sure that counties get priority in terms of funding. And sometimes we look at even the balances of counties and release some money. When we have limited resources, release some funds to some counties which have low balances. Those who still have high balances, we again tell them when they spend, we give. As we speak, we have paid up to end of April all the monies to all counties. But we have May still outstanding. And of course we have June. And we have that constraint. Honorable Speaker, this year particularly, I think has been a terrible year. Apart from the fact that we had that economic shutdown, and I want honorable members to listen to me on this. Apart from the economic shutdown that we had for almost 2-3 months.
You have 1 minute, Honorable CS, to...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. If you could add me 2 so that I could do 3, just to explain this bit. The economic shutdown led to slowed economic growth in the country and failed meeting of our targets in terms of revenue collection. But we also did not conclude with IMF the 9th review. So we lost $765 million going to budgetary support. As we speak, the World Bank's funding, or BOP, seems to be going to July. Because one of the things is that some of the legislations that were precedent to the release of these funds, Mr. Speaker, delayed in the legislative process. the conflict of interest bill was a key bill for World Bank to give us the funding. And when it was unlocked, there was no time to take our approval to the board. Now you see we are going to June 30th with 97 billion hole that I did not prepare for as Cabinet Secretary. Now, these are challenges, Mr. Speaker, which inhibit our release of funds. Even when sometimes National Assembly puts pressure on me on CDF, I don't even know what to do because the resources are constrained and we have to balance needs. Do you pay salary or you release money to CDF and release money to counties? Do you pay salaries or you stop paying salaries? Those are questions that you have to ask. You have debts to pay. You must pay those debts. If you default, the implication for our economy is dire. Remember, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the reason why we have tried very hard to make sure that we meet our obligations. There were 6 countries that were mentioned in 2021 by IMF as candidates for restructuring, as candidates for default. 5 have defaulted. It's only Kenya which has survived. Angola has defaulted, Ethiopia has defaulted, Ghana has defaulted, Chad has defaulted, and Zambia has defaulted. 5 economies out of 6, only Kenya has survived. I would want to urge and request this Honorable House to help support me, support the government, support my ministry, so that we don't fall to where these our contemporaries are fallen. And I am confident we are not going to fall there. That is why sometimes you see some challenges, but we'll outlive these challenges, Mr. Speaker, with your cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Senators. I'm afraid we may have to terminate our interrogation and interaction with the CS at that. Honourable CS, thank you so much. You are now free to leave. Clerk, you may usher the CS in charge of mining. Now, Honourable Senators, this morning we lost 30 minutes waiting for quorum. 30 minutes that we would have otherwise utilized to interact with the CS Treasury. And therefore, I urge you, we need not ring the bell for us to get a quorum. If you can be able and if you can purpose to be in the chamber by 9:30, then we'll have more time to interact with honorable CSs.